It's the 1st of February and I'm just going to do another update on the tomatoes in the greenhouse. I've just picked from them, so I've just picked a big bowl of tomatoes, or a big roasting dish of tomatoes, so you won't see so many ripe ones on the plants. But what I want to talk about more is the state of the plants themselves. As you can see, blight has taken hold pretty thoroughly, pretty much destroying some plants. The silvery fir were the first to pretty much give up, all of them. There's a bit of green on that one there, but mostly they're pretty dead looking. Though I've still been picking ripe fruit off them, but they're just about completely done now. Boxcar willies have absolutely huge fruit, but they've all been a bit funny shaped and tending to split. Some of them are fighting back from the blight. You see new growth at the top that looks pretty healthy. That's in the potting mix compost mixture. Bit of fighting back going on this one over here. Basically the bottom of the plant looks pretty at it, but at the top we've got this new growth. I'm not going to be perpetuating these plants much longer. I'm just going to harvest what's on them. But it's still interesting to see which ones are fighting back and which ones aren't. This one in the compost here is not really able to fight back. In our tigerellas, we've got a potting mix compost and a potting mix straight in the yellow and the red buckets. So have a look at this. We've got quite a bit of blight on the plants. I have been taking leaves off, but they just get worse and worse. We get near the top, see this new growth that is in the straight potting mix for the most part. This plant here, yep, it's all straight potting mix. The one that's the potting mix compost, oops, just broke it, never mind. Here's the top of the plant, not so great. Okay, so that potting mix, straight compost next to it, pretty bedraggled looking. And the next one over is topsoil and compost. Whoop, there's the top of the plant there. Not great. And the compost and manure one, if I can detangle it. This is actually the top of the plant here, bent right over. Oops. So it's got a bit of green on it, but it's not terrific. Yeah. I'm just going to see if I can wrestle that one up there somewhere. Okay, our money makers have actually been the plants that have been able to withstand the blight the most. So I'll just get back on these. Quite a lot of tomatoes on them. And in the corner we've got the manure compost one. It's had quite a lot of tomatoes on it. The lower part doesn't look so good, but then it's sort of created this whole new growth at the top, which isn't really supported. Next one over is straight compost. Now I'll come back to these in just a second. And then potting mix and compost. Now look at the fruit on this one, if we can see them. Quite a lot. The potting mix, straight potting mix one, has got quite a lot of fruit sort of hidden at the back. And then it comes up and we see more fresh growth at the top. On the end we've got our topsoil potting mix, topsoil compost mixture. Now this is the plant that looked really sick on the end. It's got a little bit of new growth coming off the end of the fruiting arms here, but I took the top of the plant off and that plant has pretty much had it. Although, there's actually a bit of new growth at the back as well. Okay, but let's just come around here. All these moneymaker ones have sort of got to the top of their stakes and then I didn't really cut them off. They've continued to grow right over the top of this framework, and all of that growth is fairly unaffected by blight. So they are fighting back quite well. But as I said, I'm mostly looking to just harvest now what's already in here and then to get rid of these plants so I can do something else in the greenhouse. I am been weighing and measuring as I pick, so we can really see which ones produce the most in the end. I would say though I won't probably ever grow Roma again. Speaking of Roma, here they are here. We've got a bit of fighting back going on here, but a lot of pretty much complete plant collapse and we're not getting a lot of fruit, and they're pretty much tasteless. I'm finding Roma really don't have a lot of flavour to them. I probably won't bother with them again. So that's today's update. A March 16th update on the tomatoes. As you can see, all the boxcar willies have finished and been removed. Most of the tigerellas have as well. There's only 2 pots remaining, and I'm just waiting for the last of the tomatoes to ripen. The Romas have all gone as well, and the money makers are still going. Now, this one on the end here in the blue bucket was the one with a very diseased top that I cut off fairly early on. Well, even it's managed to sprout a considerable amount of new growth that's now flowering and wanting to fruit. And the other 4 have all just continued to grow and grow and grow. So I'm just going to take you around the other side so you can see them. I'm actually getting where I'd like to just get rid of them because they are very unruly and in the way. I didn't have sufficient trellising to really train them up on as they got bigger. But it's kind of hard to sort of stop production on something, isn't it? Though I am getting, I will confess, a little over tomatoes. If I was to stretch these vines out and measure them, they're probably 3 to 4 metres long, easy. And lots more tomatoes coming on. This is despite the fact that these plants all have blight, as you can see in the dying leaves and so forth. Oops, got another broken branch there. There's a lot of whitefly. All the plants in the garden have psyllid really badly, but these have not shown sign of psyllid, though as I said they do have a lot of whitefly and blight. So the money makers have been the ones with the most continuous production. The silvery firs are also long gone, and I'll be picking some more of these today. The ones that weren't part of the experiment, the Tiny Tims, have actually done amazingly well. I'm just showing you these because they are an incredibly productive, given that these are a determinate, which should mean a small bush plant that sort of stops growing. They are still producing from plants that were originally sown in August, and it's now March. I did give them a feed recently and immediately started getting bigger tomatoes on the plants. So, still harvesting and adding up totals on my 25 experimental buckets. Those, what's left of them. Totals will be shown soon.